Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. My name is Kevin Richardson, and today I want to talk a little bit about just how to use what's known as the productivity planner. It's not just a generic term. This is an actual product that I've used quite a bit over the last couple months, and it's really helped me narrow in on my goals and stay focused on them, and I've gotten so much done recently. 2020, it's a new year, and with that comes new or maybe renewed goals. So whether that's losing weight, or that's making more money, that's getting to the gym, that's starting your own business or your own YouTube video, you've got a lot of things that you want to do in 2020, right? Well, it's hard to stay track of all of those things. It's hard to really stay focused. You've got other obligations, things pop up. Before you know it, you're 6 months into the year, you're halfway there, and you're like, oh, well, guess I'll try again next year. Well, I'm hoping that by me sharing this with you, you'll be able to maybe stay on those goals and stay focused a little longer this year, if not completely achieve them. So let's get into it. So like I said, I use the Productivity Planner by Intelligent Change. And today I'm going to give you a little bit about what that looks like and how I go through filling it out, as well as maybe my own little tweaks that I put into it that have worked out for me really well. It's kept me focused. It's allowed me to get a lot of things done. I'm super busy, aren't we all? But I've been able to get a lot of things done, and it's also counterintuitively allowed me to cut myself a little slack, because I tend to think that I can get everything done in one day, or all of my year's goals done in 1 week. And so I'm going 100 miles an hour at something, and it just ends up in me being really stressed, feeling unaccomplished, feeling like I didn't quite meet my mark. So it's keeping me reasonable in my expectations. So with the productivity planner, we'll be starting with Sunday evening. So with me, my week starts on Monday. So Sunday in the afternoon, evening is when I start looking at my productivity journal. Now, reflecting on the previous week, I like to look at what were my big wins. I like to list at least 5 of them, 3 of them, whatever. I go for 5 just because I like to acknowledge what went well the week before. I also want to acknowledge what things didn't get done. What are the tasks that are unfinished, so that I can write those down consciously and figure out how I'm going to incorporate them into the following week. And then lastly, just create an overall action plan. So that's figuring out, well, what are some of the other things floating around in my head that I know I need to do? I need to cut the grass, or I need to go to the DMV, get my license renewed. Just those things, just jot them down in that reflection on Sunday. So that's the first part of the Sunday part of this productivity planner. The second part is actually going to be planning for the week ahead. So you'll want to write down these 3 sections in the notebook. So the first section is going to be your big tasks. And try to write down 5 of these. I'll get into why 5 is that big important number there, but try to go for 5. And so when I say big tasks, think of the most important. These are the things that have to get done. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. They must get done. And these 5 big tasks, think of them as, if you get nothing else done this week, if I get these things done, I'm going to feel good, I'm going to feel accomplished, like that's the bare minimum. So the second part of that is going to be the 5 secondary tasks. So these are going to be things that are still important to get done, but if they don't quite get done, like your week's not going to be ruined, or there's not going to be a huge consequence. Of course, those are the things, maybe like go to the gym 4 times a week, or maybe it's something that isn't a showstopper, but it's going to still be important to you. So those are the secondary tasks. And then thirdly, you've got your other tasks. And again, you want to try and write just 5 of those down. So these other tasks, self-implied name, they're things that you still want to get done, but they're not a priority. So these other tasks could be something small like clean out the garage. You know, you don't have to get it done this week, but you want to get it done eventually, and it's something that you want to do. And if you get around to it, that's great, but it's okay if you don't. Maybe you want to get into painting. It's like, well, you know, I want to paint something this week. You can throw that into the other tasks as well, because this structure is based on like what has to get done, what's a priority. It's making sure that what you want to get done the most actually gets done. So that's all that really goes into planning for the week ahead. And so now we can move into your daily planning. So your daily planning is going to be done Monday through Friday, Monday through Saturday, however you want to break up your week. If your week stops on Saturday and you just hang out, watch Netflix, you know, go out with friends, there's nothing really productive going on, it's totally fine. You just set it up how you want to. If you're like me and you're just a workaholic, you've got, you know, many different projects going on, you have to work at least a little bit on the weekend. That's why I include Saturday in on this as well. But again, regardless, this is your planner, build it how you need to. So for the daily planning, you're going to start with prioritizing 5 tasks. Now, doing this weekly reflection and weekly planning on the Sunday before actually helps with this. So what you'll do is you'll list out 5 tasks on any given day. Your first task of that is going to be pulled from the big tasks group. Your second and third are going to be pulled from the secondary tasks, and the fourth and fifth are going to be pulled from the other tasks group. So this way you're at least making sure that you get one big task done. That is a priority. That is the thing you do first and foremost in your day, followed by secondary task, followed by other tasks. So the next thing you're going to do with each one of these is you're going to write down the number of time chunks that you're going to need to complete that task. Now I say time chunks as a generic word here, as a generic term, because some people like to work in 30-minute chunks. I think that's the classic Pomodoro time span. Other people like to work in blocks of single hours, or 50 minutes of work followed by 10 minutes of a break. And that's what I like to do. I like to keep things within an hour. I've tried the 30-minute. The 30-minute time chunk is just too quick for me. I feel like I'm just finally getting settled into whatever I'm doing by the time it's up. So I go with 1 hour of time chunks. So if I'm, say, shooting this video, I'm going to put on there that it's going to take me 2 hours to shoot it and process it and so on. So that's at the beginning of the day. This is what I think it's going to take, and you can incorporate this into your calendar or whatever tool you use to just plan out your day and plan those around other things that you've got going on, whether that's meetings, phone calls, visits, and so on. Then the next thing you're going to do is have 5 little bubbles out to the right of this estimate number of time chunks. So each of these bubbles are going to be bubbles that you fill out as you go throughout the day. So once you finish a time chunk, you will fill in one of those bubbles. And this really does well with, you know, just showing that there's like a tangible reward in a sense. It's a tangible reward for finishing that time chunk. I put a lot of effort into this, you know, I gave it my all, and now I can mark off this little bubble. And so you'll do this throughout the day, and it just gives you that visual representation of I did a lot. You might want to use a timer, whether it's on your phone or on your laptop, or you could do the actual classic Pomodoro timer, if you haven't seen those, definitely recommend Googling them. It's literally a tomato-shaped timer. Pomodoro is Italian for a tomato or something like that. But yeah, so you can use a timer to actually time yourself. Using this timer is going to make sure that you're not getting sucked into a task. It's going to make sure that you give yourself a chance to get up, walk around, take a break. After all, I think that's the biggest thing about Pomodoro technique is, you know, taking this time to, you know, work for a majority of the time block and then, you know, get up, stretch, take a walk, reflect on what you just did, start mentally preparing for what you're going to do for the next time chunk, and so on. So that is the setup for your day-to-day tasks. So like today is, I think, Tuesday. So I did that this morning. I wrote down my 5 tasks, 1 big task, 2 secondary tasks, and to other tasks with the bubbles and the time estimate outside of them, and I've already filled in some of those bubbles. I also have a section called batch. So if you're not familiar with batching, that is just taking kind of the smaller frivolous activities that you have to do, such as, at least in my case, it's answering email, it's making phone calls, it's, small things that can be distracting to me when I'm really trying to hone in on these bigger projects. So I just batch them all into a single time block, whether that's 30 minutes, whether that's an hour. I just batch them all together. And again, this is about staying focused. This is about staying on your mark. And then also I have a notes section. So as you go on throughout your day, you're grinding, you're getting your stuff done, you're marking out your bubbles. There will be things that come to mind that say, oh yeah, I have to text this person back, or oh yeah, I have to send that email to this person. You can put those in the notes section. That way you just have this area where you can do what's called a mind dump. Just to keep it out of your mind. It's on paper. You can keep it there. You don't have to keep worrying about it. You don't have to keep telling yourself, oh, like I can't forget to do that. Like it's written down. It's out of sight, out of mind, and you can focus on what's important in the moment. So that's about it for the daily planning portion of this. And again, some of those key benefits are that writing down the tasks keeps you focused. It minimizes those distractions. It keeps your expectations reasonable. I mean, you can only write down 5 of these tasks, and it forces you to look at how long is this actually going to take me? Is it really going to take me 2 hours, or can I get it done in 1? Is this really going to be able to be done in 3 hours, or am I going to have to take like a full half day of 4 hours to get this task done? And so it keeps your expectations reasonable. Like I said, I'm someone who thinks that I can get everything done in the course of a day, and doing this exercise keeps me in check. It makes me realize I can't get it all done. And it also gives you a little bit of time just to breathe, to take a break. And again, filling out those bubbles gives you a tangible sense of accomplishment once you've completed a task or completed a time chunk for that task. So at the end of each day, as you're going on throughout your week, it's always good to do a bit of an evening reflection. Now, this doesn't have to be a big, 2-hour journaling session where you're talking about, your feelings or how frustrated you are with a coworker or anything like that. Again, it's focused on giving you insight into your productivity and into how you're progressing with achieving your goals. So again, we're going back to this productivity planner, and where you wrote down your expectations for how long each of your tasks would take, you're actually going to count the number of bubbles that you filled in, going back to those bubbles, and you're going to write down the actual number of bubbles or time chunks that it took to complete the task. And you can compare this with what you expected it would take at the beginning of the day. And that gives you a gauge of how well you are estimating the timing of some of these tasks, the time duration, and it just helps you become a better planner in general, which is great for just about anybody. The next part of the evening reflection is to give yourself a productivity score. Now, this productivity score isn't, there's no really rhyme or reason to it. You don't go crazy into the, data parts of this, or, it's not algorithmic. It's just how productive did you feel you were that day? And it's important to keep this in mind, because some days, life happens. Emergencies come up. You have to scrap your whole day that you had planned out. But that's okay. That doesn't mean that your day was a failure. Say you had an emergency, but you absolutely 110% took care of business, and now it's no longer an emergency. That would be a pretty productive day, and I would give myself a 10 out of 10, right? So your productivity score is subjective, and it's meant to be that way. It forces you to think, well, if I didn't feel productive today, why did I not feel productive? And what could I have done to do better with that? And then the last part of my daily reflection that I do with the productivity planner is I write down 3 successes and 3 improvements. So 3 things that I did really well, that went really well, and then 3 things that maybe didn't go quite as well as I wanted to, and an action plan that I can do to improve on that. So doing this evening reflection, some of the benefits, again, it holds you accountable. It makes you review your day and say, okay, well, it went well, it didn't go so well, why did it not go so well, or why did it go wonderfully? It's an opportunity for affirmation. Again, you're looking at your successes, what went well, and that's always good to say, I did this well today, or I really crushed it today. And that's just good positive affirmations for yourself to keep you going when times are stressful. And then lastly, it keeps you in the improvement mindset. So for the things that didn't go quite so well, you look at them critically. You really think about them and you say, how can I do better tomorrow? So you do these Monday through Friday, Monday through Saturday, and then once you get around to that next Sunday, you just repeat the process. You look at your entire past week and you write down your 5 big wins, 5 tasks that maybe didn't quite get finished. Maybe you got them all finished and you don't write anything down there. And then you have an action plan for the next week. And then again, you do those 5 big tasks, those 5 secondary tasks, and the 5 other tasks that you want to get done. So with the productivity planner, it's for sale online. You can Google it and you'll find it from the original website or on Amazon. I'm cheap, so I just copy it down on my own personal notebook, and that works out well just for me. It's a little bit therapeutic for me, just writing down the organization of everything. And if you want to do that as well, you can check out some of the product images online. You can just copy down yourself. Or if you just want to have all the things ready to go, you can absolutely buy it. It's fairly cheap for a planner, in my opinion. So in conclusion, the productivity planner, whether you buy it or you make your own flavor of it, it's a great tool to use to stay productive and chip away at your big tasks and your big goals. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like what I'm presenting, whether it's the engineering topics or some business advice or business topics, 3D printing and so on, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.